Quiet Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott. Chapter 1. The Orphanage. Patty stood at the window, looking thoughtfully down at a group of girls playing in the yard below. All had cropped heads, all wore brown gowns with blue aprons, and all were orphans like herself. Some were pretty and some plain, some rosy and gay, some pale and feeble. But all seemed to be happy and having a good time in spite of many hardships. More than once one of the girls nodded and beckoned to Patty, but she shook her head decidedly and continued to stand listlessly watching and thinking to herself with a child's impatient spirit, "Oh, if someone would only come and take me away! I'm so tired of living here, and I don't think I can bear it much longer." Poor Patty might well wish for a change. She had been in the orphanage ever since she could remember, and though everyone was very kind to her, she was heartily tired of the place and longed to find a home. Chapter 2. Getting Adopted. At the orphanage, the children were taught and cared for until they were old enough to help themselves. Then they were adopted or went to work as servants. Now and then some forlorn child was claimed by family, and once the relatives of a little girl named Katy proved to be rich and generous people who came for her in a fine carriage, treated all the other girls in honor of the happy day, and from time to time let Katy visit them with arms full of gifts for her former playmates and friends. Katy's situation made a great stir in the orphanage, and the children never tired of talking about it and telling it to newcomers as a sort of modern-day fairy tale. For a time each hoped to be claimed in the same way, and listening to stories of what they would do when their turn came was a favorite amusement. By and by Katy ceased to come, and gradually new girls took the places of those who had left. Eventually Katy's good fortune was forgotten by all but Patty. To her it remained a splendid possibility, and she comforted her loneliness by dreaming of the day her folks would come for her and bear her away to a future of luxury and pleasure, rest and love. But year after year no one came for Patty, who worked and waited as others were chosen, and she was left to the many duties and few pleasures of her dull life. People who came for pets chose the pretty little ones, and those who wanted servants took the tall, strong, merry-faced girls who spoke up brightly and promised to learn to do anything required of them. Patty's pale face, short figure with one shoulder higher than the other, and shy ways limited her opportunities. She was not ill now, but looked so, and was a sober, quiet little woman at the age of 13. The good matron often recommended Patty as a neat, capable, and gentle little person, but no one seemed to want her, and after every failure her heart grew heavier and her face sadder, for the thought of spending the rest of her life there in the orphanage was unbearable. No one guessed what a world of hopes and thoughts and feelings lay hidden beneath that blue pinafore, what dreams this solitary child enjoyed, or what a hungry, aspiring young soul lived in her crooked little body. But God knew, and when the time came he remembered Patty and sent her the help she so desperately needed. Sometimes, when we least expect it, a small cross proves a lovely crown. A seemingly unimportant event becomes a lifelong experience, or a stranger becomes a friend. Chapter 3. Aunt Jane. It happened so now, for as Patty said aloud with a great sigh, "I don't think I can bear it any longer," a hand touched her shoulder and a voice said gently, "Bear what, my child?" The touch was so light, and the voice so kind, that Patty answered before she had time to feel shy. living here, ma'am, and never being chosen as the other girls are." "Tell me all about it, dear. I'm waiting for my sister, and I'd like to hear your troubles," the kindly woman said, sitting down in the window seat and drawing Patty beside her. She was not young or pretty or finely dressed. She was instead a gray-haired woman, dressed in plain black, but her eyes were so cheerful, and her voice so soothing, that Patty felt at ease in a minute, and nestled up to her as she shared her little woes in a few simple words. "You don't know anything about your parents?" asked the lady. "No, ma'am. I was left here as a baby without even a name pinned to me, and no one has come to find me. But I shouldn't wonder if they did come even now, so I keep ready all the time, and work as hard as I can so they won't be ashamed of me, for I guess my folks is respectable," Patty replied, lifting her head with an air of pride that made the lady ask with a smile, "What makes you think so?" "Well, I heard the matron tell the lady who chose Nellie Brown that she always thought I came of high folks because I was so different from the others, and my ways was nice, and my feet so small, see if they ain't." And slipping them out of the rough shoes she wore, Patty held up two slender little feet with the arched insteps that tell of good birth. Miss Murray, for that was her name, laughed right out loud at the innocent vanity of the poor child, and said heartily, "They are small, and so are your hands in spite of work. Your hair is fine, your eyes are soft and clear, and you are a good child, I'm sure, which is best of all." Pleased and touched by the praise that is so pleasant to us all, yet half ashamed of herself, Patty blushed and smiled, put on her shoes, and said with unusual animation, "I'm pretty good, I believe, and I know I'd be much better if only I could get out. I do so long to see trees and grass, and sit in the sun, and listen to the birds. I'd work real hard and be happy if I could live in the country." "What can you do?" asked Miss Murray, stroking Patty's smooth head and looking down into the wistful eyes fixed upon her. Modestly, but with a flatter of hope in her heart, Patty recited her domestic accomplishments. It was a good list for a 13-year-old, for Patty had been working hard for so long that she had become unusually clever at all sorts of housework as well as needlework. As she ended, she asked timidly, "Did you come for a girl, ma'am?" "My sister-in-law, Mrs. Murray, did. But she found one she likes and is going to take her on trial." Her answer caused the light to fade from Patsy's eyes and the hope to die in her heart. "Who is it, please?" she asked. "Lizzie Brown, a tall, nice-looking girl of 14. You won't like her, I know, for Lizzie is a real—" And there Patty stopped short, turned red, and looked down as if ashamed to meet the keen, kind eyes fixed on her. "A real what?" "Please, ma'am, don't ask. It was mean of me to say that, and I mustn't go on. Lizzie can't help being good with you, and I'm glad she has a chance to go away." Aunt Jane Murray asked no more questions, but she noted the little glimpse of character, and tried to brighten Patty's mood by talking about something of interest to her. "Suppose your folks, as you say, never come for you, and you never find your fortune as some girls do. Can't you make friends and fortune for yourself?" "How can I?" questioned Patty wonderingly. "By cheerfully taking whatever comes, by being helpful and affectionate to all, and by wasting no time dreaming about what may happen, but bravely making each day a comfort and a pleasure to yourself and others. Can you do that?" "I can try, ma'am," answered Patty meekly. "I wish you would, and when I come again, you can tell me how you are doing. I believe you will succeed, and when you do, you will have found for yourself a fine fortune and confident certainty of your friends. Now I must go. Cheer up, dearie, your turn will come one day." And with a kiss that won Patty's heart, Miss Murray went away, casting more than one look of pity at the small figure sobbing in the window seat with a blue pinafore over her face. This disappointment was doubly hard for Patty because Lizzie was not a good girl, and to her mind did not deserve such good fortune. Besides, Patty had taken a great fancy to the lady who spoke so kindly to her. For a week after this she went about her work with a sad face, and all her daydreams were of living with Miss Jane Murray in the country. Chapter 4. A Chance at Last. Monday afternoon, as Patty stood sprinkling clothes for ironing, one of the girls burst in, saying all in a breath, "Patty, someone has come for you at last, and you are to go right up to the parlor. It's Mrs. Murray. She brought Liz back 'cause she told fibs and was lazy. Liz is as mad as hops, for it is a real nice place with cows and pigs and chickens and children, and the work ain't hard, and she wanted to stay. Do hurry, and don't stand staring at me that way." "It can't be me. No one ever wants me. It's some mistake," stammered Patty, who was so startled and excited she didn't know what to say or do. "It's no mistake," the girl insisted. "Mrs. Murray won't have anyone but you, and the matron says you are to come right up. Go along, I'll finish here. I'm so glad you have your chance at last." And with a good-natured hug, the girl pushed Patty out of the kitchen. In a few minutes Patty came flying back in a twitter of delight to report that she was leaving at once and must say good-bye. Everyone was pleased, and when the flurry was over, the carriage drove away with the happiest little girl you have ever seen riding inside. For at last someone did want her. Patty had found a place. End of Part 1.